Hello guys, welcome back to my reaction channel. Today we are again going to be doing something different, and yeah, I wanted to watch one of the videos you guys requested from Swagkage. I think it was something like if what would happen if Orochimaru actually managed to take Itachi's body or Sasuke's body, something like that. So before I do that, my mod suggested, why don't you watch this video where he's talking about how strong is Itachi really, or right? I think that's the video I'm about to watch. So it's not a long video according to my mods. I wanna see this because listen, like I've seen the show and I'm watching different shows with you guys and all that, and when I make these sort of videos, I kind of go in them blindly and I'm just basing all my opinions on my memory. So maybe my memory is a bit skewed, and maybe I also forgot a couple of details of how strong he really was. I remember most of it, but hey, let's see an analysis for maybe he's gonna remind me of some details I missed or forgot. So guys, I'm excited about this. I know you guys love Itachi, so do I, but many of you seem to believe I don't just because I love Orochimaru. It's like, it's ridiculous. It's like you guys believe that one excludes the other. If I love Orochimaru, I can love Itachi. What are you talking about, okay? But hey, I'm gonna be jumping right into this. Hopefully it's a good video. So guys, I ain't gonna prolong this that much. If you enjoy my reactions, feel free to share, subscribe, like, leave a comment, ring the bell for notifications, guys. Follow me on Instagram, join my Discord server, and my Patreon page. Without further ado, man, let's jump right into this reaction. I had a long day today, so I really need to pick me up. Let's go,
So
man.
I've been making a bunch of videos recently examining the strength of various Naruto characters, and I figured it'd be fun to make a new video about somebody who's way more popular and also way more powerful than anyone I've spoken about so far.
Definitely.
Today we're taking a look at Itachi Uchiha, and I know everybody knows he's supposed to be like really strong, but I think where everyone struggles to agree is on exactly how strong.
Facts, because I've literally seen so many of you telling me that he slaps Madara. Like, oh, if he was being serious and if he wasn't ill, he would destroy Madara. And I just do not believe that to be true. And this is coming from a guy that, like, right? Like, I theorize that the whole Akatsuki working together might be able to bring down Madara. Might. And some of you guys argue that Itachi alone can bring him down. Like, bruh, Madara's a powerhouse. Like, what are you talking about? But some of you are really sure that he could. Which, hey, I'm open-minded, but I think that's a bit of a mental stretch, right? But hey, listen, what he just said is definitely true. We need to agree how strong he is. Let's go.
I've spoken to some people who think Itachi could beat Madara, I've spoken to others who think he'd struggle to fight Jiraiya, and there are a whole bunch of opinions spread throughout in between. I, of course, have my own opinion, and to back it up, we're going to be examining a variety of different sources, including the fights Itachi participates in, statements about him throughout the series, flashback scenes where he does anything noteworthy, and the two light novels covering the events of his life before he deserts the Leaf Village.
Okay, this is, I love this guy because he, right, he brings the novels, data books, something I don't know anything about because I'm basing my opinions mostly on anime because that's mostly what I've seen, right, so far. So I kind of love this. I'm learning new things while watching his videos. And yeah, he stated this is only his opinion. So each of us are allowed our own opinion, right, based on what we've seen. But we do need to kind of agree on, like, somewhat where his power lies. Like, he can't be omnipotent, right? He's not a, right? I don't think he can beat Madara, but that's my opinion. So let's go.
I'm going to start with the light novels because I know a lot of you haven't read them, and they do give you quite a bit of insight into how talented Itachi is and the sort of crazy stuff he's been capable of even since his early childhood. I want to focus specifically on the first of the two books because you learn a lot more about what Itachi can do in it than you do in the second one. Not to say that you don't get to see Itachi in action in the Book of Midnight, but it covers Itachi's time in the Anbu and the assassination of the Uchiha clan, which we already sort of know about, whereas the Book of Daylight covers Itachi's early childhood. We get to see him enroll in the academy, start life as a Genin, take the Chunin exams, and other things you may expect from a kid in the Naruto world. Now, for those...
to be fair, we did see a lot of these bits in the anime, right? In the actual anime. We did see Itachi going on missions. I think it was the filler arc, so most of you probably didn't see that. But we did see Itachi's childhood, him going on missions, his teammates being killed by Obito, right? So there were a lot of little details. Of course, we also saw why Orochimaru was so intrigued by this boy, because from a very young age, he witnessed Itachi just training, but mostly taijutsu, shuriken jutsu, like, right, fire style. And he was so impressed with his Sharingan, right? But later Sakura, when he got caught up in his genjutsu and his arm went flying and he said, like, it doesn't matter what jutsu you use, I'm gonna see it. Like, he was caught off guard because not even Orochimaru was informed of how strong his genjutsu skills are, right? But he was still, like, he was hella impressed by this boy, enough so to want his body, even without knowing to the extent of genjutsu he has, right? So that's saying something. Like, my boy was impressed with just the basics. Can you imagine, like, right? So Itachi was strong, and we did see a lot of him growing up, like him when the Nine Tails attacked, he was holding Sasuke, he was also being helpful. So Itachi is no joke. We saw him during the war, right? When he first saw that body, and then that body tried to attack him, right? And then he killed him off, a wounded soldier that saw that Itachi is actually a leaf shinobi, and then Fugaku came, told him this is war and all that. He tried to suicide himself after talking to my boy because it was like it was so much pressure on him. He was young, right? So we did see a lot of what he's talking about his childhood and whatnot, but looks like he's gonna go in the data books and such, so I didn't see that, so let's go.
Those of you who haven't read the light novels yet, prepare to have your fucking socks knocked off, because Itachi's no joke, even as a little kid. One example of some of the ridiculous things that he has done can be seen on page 28 when the Nine Tails is attacking Konoha. Itachi is with his mother Mikoto and his younger brother Sasuke, who was an infant at the time. Everybody's just sitting around all scared, not sure what to do because they're worried the Nine Tails is gonna eat everyone, when all of a sudden a big chunk of debris falls out of the sky and threatens to crush Mikoto and Sasuke. Without a moment's hesitation, Itachi jumps into the air and breaks the debris apart with his bare fist. The way the book describes it, it sounds like he's amping his strength with chakra control, the same way that Sakura and Tsunade do. Obviously not to the same extent, but still, the fact that he's able to do this at all at 5 years old, before even enrolling in the Ninja Academy, is crazy. I find this particularly interesting because we don't really see a lot of people, especially not Genin, double especially not Academy students, and triple especially people who haven't even enrolled in the Academy yet, make use of the ability to use chakra to reinforce their strikes. Two of the only—
I mean, he put an image just now from Boruto, right? I'm pretty sure Boruto was able to do that and more before he enrolled in the academy. Like, he like, the boy's a genius. He's OP as hell. Like, this new generation is just talented, right? They can do stuff that Naruto and those Genin couldn't even dream of. Like, they were even more talented than Sasuke and all that. So I don't think that's, like, that image of Boruto really plays well with this argument, but I agree, he's hella powerful. 5 years old, are you kidding? He also broke the record of the Forest of Death, right? I think you guys told me a lot of this, because I knew about this boulder, this scene, even though I didn't read the novels. Like, I don't know if it was shown in the show or not, but I did know about it. Like, and yeah, we did see him holding Sasuke while, right, sensing Kurama. He sensed Kurama before Hiruzen, if you remember in the show. So, yo, the boy was perceptive as hell. And he was like he said, before entering the academy. So he broke all the rules, like broke the record with right. I think he broke Minato's record in the Forest of Death. Then Gata broke something like that. So yo, that's insane.
People we ever really see do it at all are Sakura and Tsunade, and you can argue that towards the end of the series, everyone is using chakra to make their attacks more powerful. But as it's described in the book, Itachi is doing specifically what Sakura and Tsunade do, and that's explained to require really precise chakra control. Now, I don't want to give him more credit than he deserves, so that might not be exactly what he's doing, and even if it is, it might not be nearly as impressive as I think it is, but I did want to mention it just because of how much it stuck out to me. Anyway, his Jonin mother—
So basically, this is his opinion, that's how he's interpreting the scene. He doesn't really state that as a fact, but if he was able to do that, that's hella impressive, because, right? Like, Sakura managed to do that way after, like, in Shippuden, and he can do that with 5 years old under his belt. Yo, that's OP, but that's only if that's true, right? Maybe he's exaggerating a bit, because Sakura also had a lot of chakra control back in OG when they were climbing the trees and stuff. But, of course, Itachi's on a different level, considering when he entered the Anbu and all that. But still, is that what the novels were talking about, or is he stretching it a bit? I don't know, but I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because it's Itachi.
Is shocked to see this happen in front of her. In the exact words of the book, unable to conceal her surprise, his mother stared at Itachi with saucer-like eyes. His mother was a Jonin, which was precisely why she was amazed at his instantaneous action. I think the implication here is supposed to be that she's stunned by the fact that even though she was a Jonin, she wasn't able to do anything, whereas her 5-year-old son, who completely lacked ninja training, was able to deal with the situation without trouble at all. Now, to be fair, she had...
Was he also holding Sasuke while doing that? Like, I can totally imagine him just holding Sasuke in one arm, like, over his shoulder, just destroying that boulder and casually walking off.
Her back turned to the debris when it started falling towards her, but I think that's a much less severe handicap than being 5 years old and lacking ninja training. Moving on page 38, we learn that a 6-year-old Itachi, on his first day at the academy, blows everybody away with his performance in a training exercise held as a part of class that day. So the exercise has the students run around the schoolyard and see how quickly they can throw kunai at the 20 targets scattered throughout it. It takes most of the students about 5 minutes to do this, but Itachi pulls it off in 30 seconds. What makes that even better is Itachi got really mad at himself after completing the course because he thought he could have done way better. Like, as soon as the person scheduled to go after him begins the course, he takes another look at it and he goes, ah man, I could have shaved 5 seconds off of my time, I suck. And when he already clearly outperformed everybody else, the fact that he expected himself to do better is ridiculous, and it also means he probably could have. Even his teacher...
I mean, didn't we see this though, like in the anime? But I'm pretty sure I saw, like, when he... Right, when he was in the academy, he kind of left the Shadow Clones to take classes. He went off with Shisui, right? Like, wasn't that there a scene? I'm pretty sure we saw this. I might be tripping, bro. Let's go.
After watching this happen, is so shocked that he initially forgets to call the name of the next student. Apparently, stuff like this continued to happen during Itachi's enrollment at the academy, because on page 45, we learn that just 4 months after he began classes there, Itachi was given the graduation exam. Surprise, surprise, he passes it, and he's allowed to graduate the following year. Later in the book, after Itachi becomes a Genin, during an encounter with Obito on page 81, we see him resist the effects of Obito's genjutsu. Now, this is only important because with him were 2 members of the Guardian Shinobi 12, a Jonin, and 2 Genin, one of whom was a genjutsu specialist. The Guardian Shinobi 12, the Jonin, and one of the Genin are all caught in this genjutsu, and the only people who are able to resist its effects are Itachi and his genjutsu specialist teammate. And for those of you who are prepared to say, oh man, that's not a surprise, Itachi's always been really good at genjutsu, at this point in the book, it's not really implied that Itachi can use genjutsu that well. As a matter of fact, when this fight happened, Itachi hadn't even awakened the Sharingan yet. It's actually the death of his teammate that happens during this fight that prompts Itachi's Sharingan to manifest for the first time. The only reason I'm clear...
We saw this fight when, right? We saw this, like, his teammates in that cat training when they were chasing the cats, and then later on, Toby appeared and killed his teammate in front of him, and he opened, like, he unlocked his Sharingan. And then, okay, but he said Guardian Shinobi 12 were there as well. I don't think that was in the anime. So all of them got caught up in Obito's genjutsu except Itachi. And Itachi, like, plausibly didn't even have a Sharingan back then. So what the hell? How do you explain that, bro? Like, yo, what the hell? Also, this is what I don't get. Some of you can explain. Like, Itachi witnessed a Sharingan user kill his comrade when he was very young, and he knew about Toby, bro. Like, my man knew about Obito. Like, he knew there was another Uchiha out there with the mask, and he was, like, evil. He knew. And then later on, right, years later, my man massacred the entire Uchiha clan, and what did he do? He asked that same masked man for help. So while that whole civil war was going on, like, behind the scenes, right, between Danzo, Hiruzen, and Fugaku and the others, this boy with Shisui tried to stop everything, and the culmination of all of that conflict was Kurama, aka Toby, controlling Kurama and unleashing it on the leaf. And we saw that Danzo pretty much pushed Fugaku and every Sharingan user back because he was kind of like doubting whether they're the ones that are controlling Kurama or not. Minato died, everybody, like, there were so many casualties, and Shisui and Itachi wanted to, like, stop all that conflict. That's why he killed the entire Uchiha clan, and the fact that he knew about the masked man, like, it was shown considering that he went to the forest and struck a deal with him and asked him for help, and them together killed the Uchiha clan, right? So what the hell, Itachi? Like, Itachi and Shisui were trying to stop that whole mess, so it never occurred to him to actually tell Hiruzen and Danzo there's a masked man out there that's hell-bent on destroying the leaf? What? Right? And he asked that same guy for help, right? That I feel like that could have stopped the conflict if he explained that that was the guy that was controlling Kurama and not Fugaku or anybody from the actual Uchiha clan that was on the Leaf side. So I never really got that. Like, how do you explain him not mentioning that at all? Like, did he think that wasn't relevant? Like, right? But aside, like, that's not what we're talking about in this video. He's definitely OP. Let's hear some
The reason
more.
I'm clarifying is because that means an 8-year-old Itachi, without the aid of the Sharingan, was able to resist the effects of a Genjutsu that caught 2 of the Guardian Shinobi 12 and a Jonin. No matter how you slice it, I think that sounds pretty impressive, but maybe that's just me. Now, the next...
True, I agree, but again, a lot of speculation here. Like, he's stretching it a bit. Like, did he have a Sharingan? Did he not have a Sharingan? Like, the timing. But I think he's correct. I think he might have not had the Sharingan yet, considering that scene with his friend didn't occur yet. So, I don't know, you guys tell me. But again, like I said, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. It is Itachi. Like, it's not that big of a stretch to assume he was this OP.
Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is, without question, the most ridiculous thing that he accomplishes in the entire book. So the book informs us that Itachi continues to do really, really well in missions and is basically backpacking his team. But despite that, his Jonin just keeps refusing to recommend him for the Chunin exams. The reason appears to be that he's confident in Itachi's abilities, but not in the abilities of his 2 teammates. So to circumvent this, Danzo, yes, as in the leader of Root and the Foundation, Danzo, personally requests that the then 9-year-old Itachi be allowed to take the Chunin exams by himself. Itachi's father, Fugaku, agrees with the suggestion, so Itachi goes on to ace the written exam. He actually gets the 2nd highest score of all time, next only to Minato's, before setting a record for the time taken to get to the tower in the center of the Forest of Death with both a Heaven and Earth scroll in his possession. Now, the interesting thing about this, of course, is that the previous record had been set by a team of 3 people, and all of Itachi's enemies in the Forest of Death were working as part of 3-man teams. Yet Itachi entered the Chunin exams by himself at 9 years old and still set this record anyway. As you'd expect, this of course means that he had to fight a team of 3 people, beat them, and take their scroll, which is exactly what he did. On his way to the tower, he gets jumped by a team of 3 Mist Ninja and deals with them absolutely no problem. Then
okay, I have a question. Didn't Minato hold the record? Somebody hold, like, I think Minato explained. I just got confused a bit. But yeah, okay, so I think Itachi broke Minato's record. And Minato set that record with 2 comrades, like the usual 3-man squad. Is that what he was saying? Or, right? Because he didn't mention Minato, so it was just a random team's record before that? Or was it, in fact, Minato? The timeline's screwing with me a bit in my head. I just got off from work. But yeah, that was hella impressive. The fact that he took it alone. And to be fair, like, he's talking about the novels, right? But we did see a lot of this in the filler arcs. And there was that Itachi backstory arc, like through the Kakashi backstory arc as well. So we kind of got a lot of these details in the anime as well.
After clearing the Forest of Death, Itachi performs so well in the first round of the Chunin exam tournament that he's allowed to skip the rest of the bracket and is immediately promoted to Chunin. Like, I was not saying that this is really dumb. Like, it sounds like I'm fucking making it up, but I promise you this is actually what happens in the book. Itachi's just ridiculous. And what makes this even better is the book says that only 5 months after his promotion to Chunin, due to his incredible performance during his time as a Chunin, he was then promoted again to a member of the Anbu Black Ops.
Yeah,
some other notable things that Itachi accomplishes before his debut in Part 1 include being handpicked for the extermination of the Uchiha clan, overpowering Orochimaru when the latter tries to steal his body, and basically toying with Deidara while recruiting him to join the Akatsuki.
Yeah, but he wasn't handpicked to assassinate Uchiha clan. He volunteered. He pretty much pushed their hand, like he begged for it, right? Because with Shisui, they felt like they needed to do something, right? And also he saw Shisui as a big brother, as right. And when Danzo took care of them, like I'm impressed that Itachi didn't go and slaughter Danzo, bro. To just push down on that rage and still put the leaf in front of, like, right? In front of it all, the personal, that really showed his dedication to Leaf, and Hiruzen knew about that, right? As long as Hiruzen was alive, Itachi knew. Itachi pretty much knew that Sasuke is gonna be okay, everything's gonna be okay. When Hiruzen died, that's when he appeared with Kisame to kinda, right, pump his chest to Danzo, like, I'm still here, bish, don't even think about it. So that was kinda dope. I love that moment in the anime when you guys explained. But yeah, he did make a mockery out of Deidara, and my man got a whole complex from it, right? He blew himself up against Sasuke because Sasuke was a Sharingan user and Itachi's brother. So yo, that's hilarious. Let's go.
Does all of this during his early to mid-teens at the latest, since when he leaves the Leaf Village to join the Akatsuki, he's only 13 years old. Another thing worth mentioning is that both Orochimaru and Deidara were either shown or stated to be Kage level at some point. Orochimaru was a candidate to become the 4th Hokage, and later went on to kill the 3rd Hokage, and Deidara successfully defeated and captured the 5th Kazekage Gaara. Of course, Deidara...
Yeah, but all of this occurred not when he was... Right? Like, this was later on. Like, Itachi was stronger, not when he was a little, what he was talking about here, but it's still an accomplishment.
Was probably way stronger when he fought Gaara than when he fought Itachi, but Orochimaru had been nominated to become Hokage long before he lost to Itachi. Now, I think that covers all of his off-screen background, so let's move on to the stuff that we actually get to see him do. The first major fight that he participates in is against a team of Kakashi, Kurenai, and Asuma, and it gives us a surface-level glimpse into his arsenal and the skill that he possesses in various areas of combat. We learned that he's at least a little proficient with genjutsu, given how he completely resists the effects of the one that Kurenai tries to cast on him, and that he subsequently turns the tables on her and traps her in a genjutsu instead. We also get to...
Also, I have to mention it again. In Boruto, they completely turned the tables, and right, Mirai puts Sarada in a genjutsu, which is an homage to this moment right here, right? And the famous meme, Kurenai tried to put Itachi in a genjutsu. Itachi, my man, rolling in his grave right now, but yo, I kind of loved that in Boruto. Let's go.
See him use a couple different ninjutsu, including a water-style jutsu that never receives a name, and a variant of the Shadow Clone Jutsu where the clone created by the user detonates on command. The most iconic scene from the fight, of course, is the debut of Tsukuyomi, a genjutsu so powerful that despite the fact that it was first shown near the beginning of the series, it's still considered one of the strongest genjutsu ever after the series conclusion. Now, all that said, the fight's pretty short, and it's hard to infer from it what Itachi's full power is, but considering his opponents, his performance and the apparent lack of effort on his part make it very clear that he's far beyond Jonin level. Itachi's next fight isn't really important at all, it's just him beating the shit out of Sasuke, but we do get our first glimpse at Amaterasu here. Unfortunately, we don't learn anything about how it works, but we can see that it's enough to impress Jiraiya and that it eats through the insides of the toad that he summons. Something that gets...
That's true. Many of you told me in that poll I made about the Sanin and all that, like, oh, Jiraiya doesn't have a counter to Itachi's Amaterasu. He can seal it. He literally sealed it in this episode, right? He was hella impressed. Of course, wouldn't you be if you saw something like that for the first time? Like, what the hell? Black flames don't extinguish. They can burn through anything. Of course, he was impressed, but he still has a counter that's like right? But I still think like Itachi might be way too much for him alone, but with the rest of the Sanin, they might figure it out. Also, I really gotta mention, Tsukuyomi is broken, bro. Like, how do you, right?
Brought up frequently is that Jiraiya allegedly forced both Itachi and Kisame to retreat here, but after taking one look at this manga page, it becomes clear that they didn't really have to go anywhere. Kisame is pretty confused as to why Itachi chose to leave, and furthermore, it's very likely that he just didn't want to engage Jiraiya because he was working undercover for the Leaf Village. The idea that base Jiraiya is too strong for both Itachi and Kisame to handle is a bit ridiculous too, especially considering some of the stuff we see them do later in Shippuden. Speaking of Shippuden...
True, but again, that's later in Shippuden. But regardless, I do agree with him here. Yeah, Itachi was definitely right. He did not want smoke with Jiraiya, not because Jiraiya could beat him. Jiraiya would lose, like it's Kisame and Itachi. But yeah, he was working deep undercover for the Leaf, and he wanted to spare Jiraiya. And also possibly his eyes, because he knew that he would probably drain them a bit against Jiraiya, and he needs them for the future fights.
And after this fight, we don't get to see Itachi in action until its first arc. To hold Team Kakashi at bay while the Akatsuki seals Shukaku inside of the Ghetto statue, Itachi challenges the members of Team 7 with a clone containing 30% of his chakra. Even though the clone is obviously substantially weaker than Itachi, it takes the combined forces of Naruto and Kakashi to land a clean hit on it. More importantly though, during this fight we learn that Itachi can trap people in genjutsu simply with a point of his finger. He doesn't even need to establish eye contact. The last fight Itachi partakes in before his death is against Sasuke, and this is one of the most popular fights in the series. I'm pretty sure many of you have seen it a bunch of times, so I don't think I need to spend too much time going over it. But let's note...
True, before he goes over it, like, that finger thing is confusing the hell out of me. Don't you at least need to look at that finger in order for you to be put in a genjutsu? Like, right? Guy closed his eyes or looked at the, right? at his feet to avoid looking at his eyes and all that. So I like, how does that work even? Like, that always confused me. He kind of used it then and never again.
Worthy about this fight is, as many of you know, Itachi was basically blind and was also near death due to his sickness, and according to Obito, he still could have easily killed Sasuke had he been trying his hardest. This is the same Sasuke who defeated Deidara without much trouble, at least not much trouble if we're not counting a suicide bomb at the end. So
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. Like, Sasuke defeated Deidara with not much trouble? Like, what? They were... what? Like, I'm pretty sure both of them were on their last legs before Deidara blew himself up. Like, Sasuke was... what are you talking? Like, he was distraught. Like, he barely escaped out of there alive. Like, he used his trump card that he prepared before the battle, thanks to Suigetsu, right? Like, what? That was not... like, he did not easily defeat Deidara. Like, what are you guys talking about? I see this, like, these sort of things in the comments. Like, any time I throw a debate out there with a strong character like Itachi, you completely invalidate anything else we saw in the show. Like, people kept telling me Sakura and Chiyo obliterated Sasori, they didn't even break a sweat. What? Like, now he's saying, like, Sasuke, like, was fooling around with Deidara. My man almost died 20 times, bro. Like, what? But, hey, I don't know. Maybe while watching those fights, maybe I was paying close attention. Tell me in the comments. But I'm pretty sure Sasuke didn't defeat him easily.
Considering the gigantic strength disparity between Itachi and Deidara that this indicates, it means that he's obviously way beyond Kage level and paints him as one of the strongest members of the Akatsuki. During this fight, we also get to see him use the Susanoo for the first time, and we learn that his Susanoo possesses the Yada Mirror, which can reflect all forms of physical attacks, and the Totsuka Blade, which can indefinitely seal anything it pierces. Now, when Itachi is revived by Kabuto during the 4th Shinobi World War, that's when we actually get to see him put in some effort. It's brief because it only happens during the fight against Naruto and B, and then subsequently during the fight against Nagato, but it's still really cool that we get to see him cut loose for once. He doesn't do too much in this fight, or these fights. I'm not really sure if this counts as 1 or 2 since he changes teams. But anyway, what he does do is pretty major. At the beginning of the fight, he swaps hands with Kyuubi Cloak Naruto, which is a really big deal because right before this fight, we find out that this Naruto is faster than the Raikage. Of course, it's possible that Naruto wasn't moving at full speed when this happened. In fact, it's very likely. But keeping up at all with someone who was at that point one of the fastest characters in the series is definitely worthy of praise. Later in the fight...
yeah, but while they were fighting, wasn't Itachi giving him pointers? Watch this, look at that. Like, so it's safe to assume Naruto wasn't going all out. He was actually trying to listen to Itachi and see what the hell was his next move and all that. So, I don't know. Like, all of this, like... Itachi's broken. OP, he has so many broken jutsus. Like, the Yada Mirror is, like, always used against the argument that he can defeat Madara. Like, oh, what can Madara do? And anything I say, even Limbo, they say Yada Mirror. Like, Yada Mirror was, like, hyped up in that battle with Sasuke, but I don't think the Yada Mirror really, like, deflects any attacks out there, no matter how strong. Are you telling me the Otsutsuki, like, these gods that are coming in Boruto right now, like, you're telling me, like, none of them with their destruct, like, you're telling me Kaguya couldn't break through that, bro. What? So I don't know how, like, the extent of his Yada Mirror, how much it can take, but if you're telling me it can tank any attack, like, even Goku's, like, Kamehameha, bro, God Goku, Ultra Instinct Goku, like, if it can tank all of that, then he's broken, bro.
He switches sides and helps Naruto and B fight against Nagato. He basically carries both of them. The two are seconds away from death when Itachi swoops in and saves them with his Susanoo, and he's the one who ends up dealing the finishing blow to Nagato by sealing him with the Totsuka Blade. Itachi's last fight is against Kabuto with Sasuke at his side, but it's difficult to gauge his strength from this because both he and Kabuto were holding back. Kabuto had to hold back because he didn't want to kill Sasuke, and Itachi had to hold back because he couldn't afford to kill or seal Kabuto, as that would leave no one to release the Edo Tensei. To be fair, of course, there's not much that Itachi could have done to beat Kabuto, but a single poke from the Totsuka Blade would have gotten him the win, and whether or not he actually could have touched Kabuto with the Totsuka Blade is arguable, but like I said, given the circumstances, it's difficult to tell. Still, even though both he and Kabuto were holding back, he managed to catch Kabuto with Izanami, allowing him to release the Edo Tensei and nearly Itachi end the war. So now that everything's on the table, it's time to answer the question posed in the title of the video. How strong do I think Itachi is? To be blunt, I think he's one of the strongest characters in the series, but that's not super precise, so let me be more clear. Itachi is one of the most skilled users of both ninjutsu and genjutsu, and he has incredible skill with taijutsu as seen in his brief clash with Kyuubi Naruto. His arsenal is made up of some of the most overpowered broken shit in the Naruto-verse, including exploding shadow clones, genjutsu that can be cast with the point of a finger, Tsukuyomi, Amaterasu, the strongest fire-style jutsu of all time, and a Susanoo that wields an indestructible shield and a sword that can seal anything it touches. He has so many methods of dealing with potential threats that it's really unlikely that he'll ever find himself in a situation he can't get himself out of. But he's the definition of a glass cannon. His main weakness is his complete lack of stamina. So while he's easily able to deal with most of the opponents that might cross his path, if he's unable to do it quickly, he runs the risk of draining himself of chakra and tiring himself out. It's not a huge weakness though, since he's shown he's more than capable of taking opponents out quickly. And if we're talking about Edo Tensei Itachi, it's not even present in the first place. If I had to explain how strong I think he is by comparing him to other characters, I'd say he's the third strongest member in the Akatsuki, and if he were to become Hokage, I think he'd be the fourth most powerful behind Naruto, of course, Hashirama, and Minato. I think he's weaker than Obito just because Kamui's broken, and he's definitely weaker than Nagato, and I mean, you could maybe argue that he might be able to beat the Six Paths of Pain in his prime. In my personal opinion, I think that the Six Paths would overwhelm him because someone with low stamina like Itachi just isn't built to take someone like that on. But that's a can of worms I don't really feel like opening. I don't feel like going super into detail about the topic, but I did want to put my position out there. I definitely don't think he's anywhere close to as strong as Madara. He has an insane amount of versatility, and the Totsuka Blade Yata Mirror combination is very powerful, but Madara is a completely different beast, and maybe I'll make a video covering him at some point in the future. Speaking of that, if you guys want me to make this into a more recurring series where I discuss the strength of other characters, let me know in the comments because I had a lot of fun making this video as well as the others. Make sure you also let me know who else you want to see a video on, and if I see enough support for any given character, I'll definitely make sure to cover them. Anyway, thanks as always for watching the video all the way to the end. If you're new here, consider subscribing to get updates when I post new videos.
That's it. You're welcome. By the way, it's a dope video idea, and I really enjoyed listening to him. And yeah, I do fully agree with him that he's not Madara level. Madara would pretty much defeat him. I don't even think it would be that hard. But considering that Swagkage is, like, he himself admitted that he's a Madara wanker, maybe I shouldn't go based on his opinion regarding that, but I do agree on that. Also, it's very interesting that he put Itachi behind Minato when he ranked if Itachi was to become Kage, he would be fourth, right? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of you would argue that Itachi stomps Minato, right? I mean, again, we also need to take into account which Minato, like if it's Kyuubi mode, right? The Nine Tails Kurama mode from the War Arc Minato, then okay, Minato is probably stronger. But if it's Minato while he was Kage, like, I don't know, that would be a dope battle. But the Flying Raijin is a broken ability. But then again, we know Itachi is smart enough to figure it out. So I don't know, man, that would be a dope battle. But yeah, certain characters are definitely better suited for some, like against some OP characters. So I don't know. That's interesting that he put him below Minato. Also, as regards to his broken abilities, he has a lot of broken abilities. He's really tough. But I wouldn't really put him, like, I don't think, like, I think Sage Kabuto is stronger than him 1v1, in my humble opinion. I mean, Kabuto just tanks all of his attacks, bro. Like, you can use Genjutsu, he shuts down his eyes. Like, if it wasn't for Izanami, like, they were both holding back. Right, and that was Edo Itachi. I'm talking about alive Itachi. Like, he's not stronger than Kabuto Sage Mode. He's not. Right, he can't touch him with the Totsuka Blade. He's too damn fast. Right, the Susanoo, I don't know, man. Right, so if it wasn't for Izanami, and arguably, like, this is another very interesting one. Like, I see Kabuto is in Boruto now, right? And he looks okay. Like, he's still in his snake mode, which I'm assuming he still has Sage mode. So Izanami wouldn't work on him twice, right? Because now he's back to his old self. So let's put a situation where Itachi attacks his orphanage or something and Kabuto's forced to battle him again, right? Would he be able to beat Kabuto without Izanami, considering it wouldn't work again? I don't see it. I mean, arguably, Orochimaru took his powers back from Kabuto, right, when he was revived, so maybe he's weaker now, Kabuto, I mean, but right, that War Arc Kabuto is, in my opinion, stronger than alive Itachi. So I personally don't think Itachi is above that level, but hey, he's still broken, and he didn't mention one of the most useful jutsus Itachi has, in my opinion. Do you remember when Shisui died and Danzo, right? When the whole Uchiha situation was cleared up and he slaughtered them all, and Itachi reminded Danzo about their deal and all that, and Danzo sent his former teammates to kill him, to assassinate him. Do you remember what happened? They killed each other. Why? Because, and I'm not shitting you at all, bro, Itachi put him in a genjutsu 2 years ago, set a timer on that bitch, and then the condition was pretty much, if they ever turn on me, they're gonna see each other as enemies, they're gonna slaughter each other. So in my opinion, that's broken, bro. That is broken, because Itachi can literally, like Minato, when I watched his video about Pain versus Minato, he said if he was to battle Minato in the Leaf, Minato would have a significant advantage because he probably marked the whole territory, which is true. So Itachi could have easily just went through the entire Leaf village and put a genjutsu on each and every villager, and like a condition on it to say, okay, if you ever go up against me, you're just gonna kill yourself, right? So he can tank anybody in the Leaf village, right? Like, what are you talking about? So to me, that's broken. Like, he can put a timer on a genjutsu. You don't even know you're on a genjutsu until it's GG, right? So he didn't mention that, but right, that kind of, when I saw that in the show, I was like, what the hell? And also another broken Uchiha member is Madara. You guys told me that in the novels or data books, I don't know, he can revert back time. He seemingly did that in the war arc when the Ten Tails attack him. You guys told me on Discord. So, yo, that's insane. They're just gifted, okay? But yeah, Itachi is no doubt OP as hell. I just don't think he can go up against gods, right? God level threats like Kaguya, Madara, Hashirama, like he said. The Minato statement was interesting. So guys, listen, I ain't got long is that much. Tell me in the comments what you think. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, love you, enjoy, and bye.